Welcome to the Art of Dress. Today I'd like to share with you insights of line for two styles, the True Classic Alpha and the True Classic Omega. And the insights about the way they wear their clothes, so it's the cut of their clothes that creates the lines, the pant line in particular, the sleeve line, and the skirt line. But these insights have to do with astrology. So that's kind of an exciting and new aspect to style. So thank you for coming and thank you for subscribing. The two styles that we're looking at today are actually both true classics. And this is very unusual because the true classics divide into two aspects of their style. Normally, a style will have four aspects, which is to say, they'll have an architectural artistry, a composite, a sculptural, and a harmonic. But in this case, two of the artistries become the True Classic Omega, not fitted and not so closely connected with the body, and two become the True Classic Alpha, much more fitted and connected to their bodies. In the sense of the clothing, right? Being connected to the body, being fitted. So here we have the True Classic Omega, which is Elle Fanning. And Elle Fanning is wearing a dress here that illustrates the line of her sleeve. And as you can see, it is basically fitted through the shoulder and then opens out in a straight line. But it's an unfitted sleeve, it's a wide sleeve. But this dress is showing something else, and this is the aspect of her style that is so unusual. And it is the bracketing of her body so that the upper half of her torso above the waist has two distinct parts. And this happens on the bottom as well, and in most of her clothes, she manages to do this. It's really, really effective. This is what transforms her style. And similarly, Liya, and she is the True Classic Alpha or fitted. And as you can see, if you can see there, across the top of the yoke, you can see the part that has openness, and then there's sort of a straight line, and then this openness goes down the sleeve. So what she's basically doing is the part above that, the straight lines, the kind of a boat line, the horizontal straight line, is a different section to the part below. And then she brackets it again at the bottom where the skirt joins. And at the same time, this is also a wonderful illustration of how her sleeve is fitted through her shoulder and then hangs straight. It doesn't conform to her arm in the sense that it doesn't taper into the wrist, but it hangs straight just from that, just above the upper arm, hangs straight from there down. So the sharing of this line is something that we find in every case when we have styles that are connected on the Yin Yang Wheel. As you remember, the Yin Yang Wheel shows the styles in order of their focal point, their style focal point. But now we're focusing on the two styles in the center. Now, the black dots that normally you would see right in the center for the sun, because that's the center, have moved up and down, and that is to show that they actually do some things like the true gammons and the true natural. But above that center point on the left-hand side, you will see basically an oval with a straight line through it, and then there's an omega sign, and that is the True Classic Omega, Elle Fanning. And below, there is another, on the left-hand side, there is another kind of oval with a vertical line through it, and that is the symbol for the True Classic. And this time, there is an alpha sign, so it's the True Classic Alpha, and that is Liya. So like every other style pair, they share lines, except that one does an alpha expression fitted and one does an omega expression. So let's go back to sleeve, and we see another example. Here is Elle Fanning with a sleeve that is fitted at the top and then opens out. It's a straight line, but it's pulled in at the wrist, but the sleeve is cut straight. And then similarly, a straight sleeve is the same for Liya Kebede. You can see that it's narrow at the top and then hangs completely straight on her arm. It's a little bit off to the side there. But you can also see the bracketing that's taking place here. And in fact, in almost every outfit, it can be done. In this case, she has some kind of pattern there, and then she has the end of her jacket is actually stopping it for the bottom bracketing. And sometimes both of them will do a bow, and there's all kinds of ways of bracketing the style, but they do it over and over again. So now let's go on to the shared line of the pant. So here's a really good view of the pant that doesn't open out at the waist. Elle's pant opens out at the top of her leg, but it is not a palazzo line. It is a straight line to her leg, even though it's full. And again, you can see that. You see the design that she has at the bottom of her pant leg? Now, most of the time, she shows the exact same thing at the top of her torso, but in this case, this outfit focuses on the pant, and it's only showing up at the pant. But it's still the same kind of bracketing that's happening. A similar pant line for Liya Kebede, and in this case, it's very subtle what she's doing. The line of the yoke is actually forming this. First of all, it's forming the halter neckline, but then it's also separating off the top of the shoulder and as well her turtleneck. And then at the bottom, the jacket is actually stopping the eye because it hangs quite strongly at the bottom of her silhouette, but a very straight line to the pant. So in the case of this pant outfit, it's a little bit even stronger because she has a design motif that's going up the sleeve, and then she has her focal point is her true waist. So in this case, it's pretty strong, and then that is the true waist exactly. In fact, is actually working for kind of the bracketing effect here. But then there's a matching kind of roll taking place at the collar and at the bottom of her leg. So that's, again, emphasizing the top and the bottom. But you can see that the pant itself is a very straight line on her leg. And then here we have, in this case, it's very unusual because she's using angled lines to separate the top and the bottom. But look at how you see blue at the top and you see blue at the bottom, and then the line of both the sleeve and the pant is hanging very, very straight. So that's just typical for her, for Liya. Now, when you come to a dress, it's actually, usually you find that Elle really has a great eye for how to work it. And in this case, what she's done is she has this kind of gathered chiffon at the top of her silhouette. And then below the bracketed area, she has gathered chiffon again to mark the top and the bottom of her silhouette. And then the in between for her is always kind of left more alone. It's not emphasized. And her line to her skirt, even though it's a full skirt, it's cut straight, it's cut fitted through the hip, and then it hangs straight. So usually, even though it's quite a full skirt, because it's a lightweight material, it doesn't show all of the fullness, which is kind of become her trademark, but the gathered chiffon adds the fullness for her. So it's still really effective. Now, in a similar way, Liya Kebede, in this dress from when she was quite young, is doing kind of the same thing. So the bracketing at the top is very strong, where she has the sort of paleness of silhouette because of the bodice not being lined there. And then she also has that design motif that's forming her angled line to her halter neckline. But a clear distinction at the top and the bottom. And then the texture is very strong in the center of her outfit. And that's really typical for her texture to be very strong. And that's like the texture that's worked into the garment itself. And then that kind of ends down by her wrist, and the rest of the dress is very open. And in the meantime, it hangs very straight, fitted through her hip line and then hangs straight all the way down. So this is the typical skirt for Liya Kebede. Now, let me just show you one more thing. So what's happening here is that what you see in the center here is you have the symbol for the sun. And the symbol for the sun, the astrological impulse for that is called empiricism. And empiricism has kind of an implication of taking things as they come. And when you hear that, it kind of brings to mind the expression, take the bitter with the sweet. Really what it means is there's a kind of a breathing in and a breathing out. But the breathing in and the breathing out take place twice for these two styles. So in the case of the True Classic Omega, the top of her silhouette is emphasized in some way to distinguish it from the upper part of the bodice itself. It could be just that she's wearing like a strapless gown. In many cases, it's a really big emphasis above the shoulder and a really an extension above the shoulder. And then the sleeve follows the normal line. And then at the bottom, the same thing often happens for the True Classic Omega. There's the skirt, and then there's a kind of really emphasized aspect at the base of the skirt. It doesn't have to be tiny at the bottom, it can be quite big, but at the base, in some way, there's an added emphasis. And so this brackets her into a top and a bottom, and then she also has her bodice and the part that's just below her waist. And it's kind of a total balance. So there's the two aspects, the emphasized and the not, and then the not emphasized and the emphasized again, done in two different ways. Take it as it comes. And for the True Classic Alpha, it's a similar kind of thing, but now reversed. The top, the very top, is not emphasized for the True Classic Alpha for Liya, but the bodice itself is very strong. And then just below the waist, again, very strong. And then at the bottom, the very bottom, not emphasized. So these two styles do the two aspects in completely reverse ways, but it's such an interesting style. And this is how they reflect, take it as it comes, the bitter and the sweet, the emphasized and the not emphasized. I'm not implying that one is bitter and one is sweet. I'm just implying that there are two completely separate aspects, in a way opposite aspects, that have to be reflected and have to be expressed. And both of the styles are showing you how they do that. So this is on top of wearing their true lines. They do both in order to actually bring their styles into focus and into a heightened expression of energy. So now let's go look at one more example for our two styles. Here we have Liya, and she is wearing this, you can see how the top is totally less emphasized, the very top, and then she has the center and then a very strong line right at the base of her sleeve, where the emphasized aspect of her outfit goes away and the rest is just skirt. And so here she's doing it. She's marking the top and the bottom, and then the center is the area of most emphasis. And likewise for Elle Fanning, what she's doing here is that she has a change of fabric. So the top of her body is emphasized by just her skin. And then she has the bodice, and then the inner part of from the waist to basically her wrist or to her hand, and those two aspects are both done in kind of velvet. And then her skirt opens out right at the point below her hip line into her omega aspect, and there's a change of fabric. So in this way, she's showing the emphasis at the top and the emphasis at the bottom. And the middle section is very beautiful, but it's not really emphasized. So this is how the two classic styles reflect their sun influence in their styles, and they do it in two different ways. So they're more differentiated in a certain sense than other styles because the true classics are a law unto themselves, but they're still showing the exact same phenomenon as well as the exact same lines expressed in the alpha way and in the omega way. Sleeve line, pant line, and skirt line. So thank you very much for sharing this with me today. And next week we're going to move on, and this time we're going to have a look at the elaborate romantic and the refined dramatic. So see you in a week. Thank you for coming. Thank you for subscribing, and take care.